We're here today in lovely Ridgewood, New Jersey, to look at a house that was built in 1912, where the homeowner wants to replace his siding. He has 4 layers of roof up there, so he's got to tear that off as well, and he wants new windows. Wow, what a perfect time to implement passive house building principles. He is going to add a new air barrier through the products from Proclima. He's going to add a new ERV through Brink. He's going to put on continuous insulation with Rockwool, and he's going to add new white windows into all his openings. And through that, he's going to make his home so much more comfortable, more energy efficient, healthier for himself and his family, while also maintaining the character of the 1912 home and the neighborhood. Ian, so good to see you again. I'm well. Good to see you. Hi, so good to see you again, too. Well, I'm so excited to see this project on its way finally. What made you want to do this?
Primarily this guy right here and his sister. So the main focus here is really to try and have a tight envelope, build as close to passive standards as possible, maybe go for certification down the line, but primarily really try and take an old girl here from 1910 and kind of give her a standing chance to go for another 100 years and be as tight of an envelope and use the best stuff that we can get around here, and primarily choose a awesome window for our manufacturer that's made locally and right up the street in Ramsey. Please. I couldn't ask for something better to be local, and so also supporting American companies as much as we can. And so our drivers are several, but at the end of the day, it's really about creating a nice tight envelope and a place that we can raise our children in and they're safe in.
You know, and I really love this point that you made, and I want to touch on, is that you're implementing passive house principles. You may or may not go for certification. I believe when you can go for certification, you should go for certification. It helps keep people focused. But we shouldn't let perfect be the enemy of something that is going to make a huge difference. You know, not every project makes sense to go all the way to certification, but implementing the principles, you still are going to receive so many of the benefits of what Passive House teaches us. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you and to document it and to help people learn from what you're learning and doing.
Thank you. It's a great journey to be on with you, and we have a great team. And really excited to kind of kick off here. As you can see, the supplies have come. Next week, we start ripping off the skin, and shortly after, new window bucks and putting your windows in is the next step. So super stoked.
All right. Well, we'll see you at the next stage.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Wow, a lot has happened since I was last here. They've removed the siding, they removed the old tar paper, and all this while the family is staying put inside the house. That's what really excites me about this project. How can we make this home so much healthier, so much more efficient, so much more comfortable for its occupants, all while the family is living inside with their young children? Well, they pulled off all the siding here. They removed the old tar paper. They revealed the old plank sheathing, and you see all those cracks. That's how the buildings used to breathe. You used to say, oh, well, buildings need to ventilate. Of course they do. But this was the fresh air strategy. This was the ventilation strategy for the home, having those little gaps between the planks. Well, now we know better, and now we can build better. And we're going to re-air seal this whole home. But before we do that, the insulation contractor is here, and he's going to go around between each stud bay and put a hole and dense pack the cavity of the wall. Let's get a closer look. Dense packing an existing home is really a balance between art and science. The technician needs to be well trained. How does he know he's achieving the right density? You put too little, you'll get settlement. You put too much, you start blowing the old plaster inside the house. Well, they have to be very careful. They have to pay attention to the flow of material that's going through the hose, and they have to listen carefully. So they stick that hose into the hole, and then they about 6 feet, and they bring it back, they bring it down, and they work it in and out to make sure they're achieving that density. The goal is to get to 3.2, 3.5 pounds per cubic foot, so it doesn't settle. Anything lighter than that, you'll get settlement. Anything heavier, they're going to start to push out the boards. And so he's got to really pay attention to how the material is going in. I'm going to regret holding this. This is very itchy stuff. I don't like it. And I don't like it also for practical reasons in terms of it has to be installed super perfectly to get it to be effective as an installation. It gets compacted easily. And 90% of this house has no insulation, but they found some areas where there was fiberglass insulation. So the contractor here has had to, when they're making the holes, they're pulling out that fiberglass insulation so that they can refill the cavity with cellulose insulation like they have here. The cellulose insulation's not itchy. It doesn't have the fiberglass. The cellulose is made up of post-consumer newspaper and cardboard, then treated with borate, which acts as a fire retardant and also makes it insect resistant. After they're done dense packing, they gotta patch it all up. Well, they don't use the old cored out hole. They use this beautiful new tapered plug that fits in the hole perfectly and super tight. This house isn't singing the low energy blues anymore. It's all wrapped up in this adhesive membrane that makes it airtight and watertight. Next, it's going to get exterior insulation. They're going to pop out the old windows, slide in this window buck to give the window a structural basis to be pushed out onto the insulation layer to improve the thermal value of the install. So this is the old sash weight, and it not only was in a cavity that had no insulation, was very air leaky, but then these metals were conductive. So this is all coming out, and it was sitting in here. It was sitting in here and in here. And this is all under one common header. So now he can open this all up, put one high-performing window in all this opening, get a much higher-performing unit within the same dimensions of the original opening. Right now, the contractor is preparing all the window openings. He's removing the old windows, he's putting in the bucks, they're making them watertight, airtight, and then he's got to protect the openings for the family so that the house stays watertight and secure while they finish up all this preparation. However, you want to minimize this disruption, and if you're ordering your windows from Europe, well, you may get them a month early, but you also may get them a month late. With White, we can coordinate with you and have the windows ready for you when you need them. Let's take a look at the wall that you've chosen to make here, Ian. What were some of the deciding factors on some of the products you chose, and how are they performing to achieve your goals?
So the primary driver was to create a vapor open assembly. Really, with the age of the home, we wanted to maintain and keep all original plaster, as much trim work as we could, and blowing cellulose in a dense pack fashion within that cavity. We get an R15 value. And then having a vapor open with the Adhero versus using like a Henry Blueskin, we get something that's basically allowing us to maintain an environment within the home and keep out the elements, and as also a waterproof barrier. Rock wool, mineral wool, the reason for choosing that, overall longevity and resilience and a few factors. It's vapor open, it'll allow that moisture as well. It allows us to have another protection layer, but the biggest factor is its fire resistance.
It's not only about coming up with a fireproof wall assembly, but one of the most common ways fires get into house is through the breakage of the windows. Thermal stress, windows crack, comes into the house, then burns from the inside. And so your new high-performing windows are certainly going to help with that.
Yeah, we saw a lot, there's a lot of embers and things from the LA wildfires and others that we know. They come in through some eave conditions and places where things start to pull in. So if you have a continuous layer of a fireproof material, you're really mitigating that risk considerably.
Here, the homeowner first dense packed the wall cavity, then added a self-adhering membrane for air and water tightness, and now they put on 4 inches of this ComfoBoard mineral wool. They've carefully marked the location of each stud, and now they're adding these furring strips with these long screws to go back into the stud, and they can hang their new siding off of that. Self-adhering membranes. There are a few different companies that make them. One is blue, and the other one is bluer. So with one product, you are going to get your air barrier, your weather barrier, and it's going to help you maintain a really comfortable relative humidity inside the house all year round.
All year.
Look at all that beautiful continuous insulation. They've wrapped this whole building up. They got that air barrier on. Now they got that rigid mineral wool on the outside of the building. And what they're doing right now is they're putting this 5/4 purlins on so that they can back vent the siding. So that'll be the nailer for the siding. They just did the corner there, and then they're gonna hang the siding off of that. Looks like someone's got a new high-performing sliding door. Gonna replace this old thingamajiggy that has one locking point and a frame with no insulation value. But goodbye, thank you. You served your purpose. We are moving on to wife's multi-point locking sliding door with a full compressive seal on all 4 sides. It's steel reinforced, so it can be built up to huge sizes, but it also has a slim enough profile that it fits nicely in traditional openings. And it has the same kind of structure as our window, those little honeycombs that make it insulative, also in the sliding door. So you got great thermal performance, a multi-point locking for air and water tightness. Ian's gonna love this door. I'm here with Don from DJR Renovations. He's the GC on this project. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Now, you have traditionally been you're more of a traditional GC, but you've seen your customers coming to you with these kind of wackier details and
Yes.
such. And
Yes, it started 5 years ago with Jacob. We did the first one in Glen Rock, and then it's evolved since then. It's a very interesting design, and it's definitely different than what we're used to. For years, we did, everything was make sure everything is vented right. Now, nothing is vented.
making the building
It's the
airtight.
opposite. It's the exact opposite of what we've been telling guys to do and what we've been told to do. So there's a bit of a friction there, like it's a little unnatural, but it's definitely getting adapted. It's starting to make a lot of sense.
A lot of GCs say, hey, listen, I've got my business. I know how to price things. Why would I want to take on these funnier details and get into a whole bunch of unknown and take that risk of doing a project that's different from the way you're used to building? Why did you want to take on that risk?
Honestly, I always had a challenge when architects had new designs or new things. I always felt up to the challenge to try these things. This technology works. I was definitely skeptical coming in because the material was all new, and the way we fasten it But seeing Jacobs now 5 years later, it looks like we just finished it.
And now that you've kind of built a specialty in working in this high performance style, do you find that it's actually bringing business to you?
Yes, definitely. People are definitely looking for ways to save on energy and save energy costs and the repeat. They're willing to lay out a little more now and a little less every month.
And what are some of the things like that you noticed when you were building the projects and you say, "Oh wow, this building feels a little different than the ones I've built before"?
When for the first time when you go inside and the installation is done and the application is done, it doesn't have to be the siding's not on, the roof's not on. You go in and you see people talking and you can't hear them. You cannot hear them. You can't hear weather. You can't hear wind. And it's good and bad, but you can't hear what's happening. It's more like a TV screen. The windows become TV screens. It's just very quiet. But in 1 second, you open it and you're outside. So it's very cool.
It's funny. I always say that's the first thing that I noticed when I first visited passive houses in Europe was that we have this like kind of sonic background that's weighing on us all the time. And when you go inside a passive house, it's just like lifted. Do you keep one guy on your team and say, hey, listen, you are the air barrier guy?
Vinny's my foreman. When he comes back, he's going to, in the attic, there's all kinds, at every seam, we're going to spray foam every gap. So he will do that. And then he will also spray foam the windows. This way, one guy does that.
What about procuring the different products? Was it difficult, or are they readily available?
Now they're much more readily available. Everything seems to be common.
But I'm sure it was a nightmare trying to find these European-style windows made here in the USA.
Yes, I haven't seen them before. until now. There was a German manufacturer that we had, and one sash came broken. It was actually 4 months before we could replace it.
Oh my gosh.
So that was my only experience with these types of windows until yours. And then we haven't had a negative experience with these windows. And the support staff is great, and which is here. And it's a great community. It really is. You have great support, and it's appreciated.
Look at those beautiful windows in Ian's building. I am so excited to see them finally get installed. And what's also nice to look at is on the top floor, they have not gotten to put the exterior insulation on yet. And you can see that the window's popping out a little bit. Now, why is that? Because they want the window to be in line with that exterior insulation to reduce the psi value of the install. Psi value? What the hell is psi value? Well, when you install the window, there is the thermal value of that install. And so the psi value is telling you how much energy is going to be flowing through that install. Oh, that must be good to know, to make sure my install is performing as well as the window itself, and I'm reducing my condensation risk factor. Well, absolutely, you've got it. Above the exterior insulation, they're putting these furring strips to then hang the siding from this, and then it becomes a back vented rain screen assembly. So that's going to increase the longevity of the siding. It's going to help with the drying of the whole wall assembly. But you also want to be careful when doing this kind of detail that you provide an insect screen as well, so that there's no chance for the insects to get behind your rain screen. When you get your new white window, each window comes with a removable sticker, but before you remove this sticker, take a look at it. It has a picture of the window that shows you the shimming pattern. It has a QR code for the install manual where you have all the latest, greatest technical information. And then you also have a QR code of a video on how to install the window, instructed to you by a really smart, super witty guy. Could be me. I don't know. Well, now let's take a look at how they shim the window here. So we want to shim the window at the lower hinge and the upper handle side. And that's where we're really going to put all the tension. We're going to square the window up in that opening from that upper handle, lower hinge. You see that shim here, and you see that shim right there. And they're squaring the window in that way. We do the same exact shimming pattern in the factory inside the glazing pocket. So we're counter shimming the glass so that it's lifting the glass up so that it's not dragging when you open and close the window. And look how nice that opens. This is so exciting. This is the last window for the project going in.
This is a waterproof seal that we put underneath the windows.
I noticed that you got this blue like credit card in your hand.
Yes.
And so why is he doing that? Well, you see, when you press this down, it activates the glues to adhere, and then it becomes nearly impossible to peel it off. Oh yeah, look how he's stretching it into the corner there. Pressing it down, activating the tape.
The initial stretch loosens it.
I would say I went around and touched, opened a lot of the windows. They opened perfectly. I mean, did you have to do any adjustments to them, or it was just the shimming and that allowed them to work? So
All the
nicely?
windows that I installed here were specifically just with the shimming.
Ding, 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 ding! Right answer, because
I know
that was a trick question, because really I don't want anyone being doing any adjustments until after a year or two when the house is moved around. If you shim the window correctly, you should do no adjustments. Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? They taken our install mounting cleats, they twisted them into the profile, and they spaced them 4 to 6 inches from the corners. And then on either side of the structural mullion, they've also put mounting cleats. Now, if the spacing was wider than 16 inches right here, they'd put another strap right here. But since it's narrow, they don't need to. Now, we're going to take these mounting cleats and we're going to bend them like this. And that's going to make the perfect Z shape so that we can have that 1/2 inch install gap here. This is going to allow us to secure the mounting cleat directly to the structure, and then have the space to do our shimming and additional insulation in that install gap. So many folks like to choose a spray foam to put in that install gap. It's really super handy to have that spray foam because it expands to fill in and it gives you additional insulation. It helps with air tightness. Be sure to buy the one that says window and door on it because it has less expansion than your traditional spray foam. If you buy a traditional spray foam and put it in that opening, it's going to actually have so much pressure, it's going to expand and it's going to hinder the operation of your window. What's great about our windows is that the whole install can happen from the inside. While it's not necessary to have any helper on the outside, if like you are on this project redoing the siding and you have pump jacks all around the house, then yeah, sure, it's handy to have that outdoor person. But 90% of the time, everything is done from the inside. Vinny, do you have any tips and tricks for when you're spray foaming?
Yes, actually, the best way to do this is in layers instead of trying to fill the gap in one shot. Let it, whatever the gun does, let it sit, harden, and then do another layer. It's the best way instead of trying to do it all at once.
I think that it's actually great advice, and I noticed that in a few windows that it wasn't completely filled because you were letting it have time to expand, and you're going to come back and do another pass.
That's correct. That's the best way to do things when we do install any kind of windows. So.
And then, don't forget the obvious. Tape the window on the outside first. Otherwise, you'll just be spraying all over the place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't want to... It's one thing to be blowing out here, but we don't want it going out on the outside.
All right, so let's wait for him to finish taping, and then we'll finish up the spray foam.
Yes.
No matter how much you plan, no matter how much you prepare, there's going to be some hiccups along the way, and you got to be ready to readjust and remediate a situation as it arises. The siding crew here got a little rambunctious, and they sided the whole side of this building without remembering that there was going to be a sunscreen that's going to hang off the side of the building here. And so fortunately, the team stopped, took a breath, and they removed the siding. They're going to put some brackets in here where they're going to be able to anchor the shade back to the building. So they're going to have a little point thermal bridge there, not a big deal. And then they're going to put all the insulation back and then hang the screen off the building again. Super exciting day here over at Ian's project. They're going to do their blower door test. He has spent a lot of effort making his envelope airtight. And now they're ready to retest that and see what his air tightness levels are. When they initially tested, he had 13 air changes per hour. What do you think he'll get today?
Oh, dude, it's the serve. All right, there we go. So I'm holding it negative 50 Pascal. So 1103. That's pretty good.
It seems like every time we're here, your neighbors are having lawn work done, leaf blowers, lawn mowers. I mean, it's nice that they take care of everything, but boy...
I think that's a conversation in a lot of towns in New Jersey, actually. Yeah. That's one of the nice things that we don't hear inside of her anymore. The perpetual leaf blowing and lawn mowing.
This was your passion project. But how does your family feel about it now that they had to live through the whole rigmarole of the deep energy retrofit while being in place? Is it worth it, or they want to, strangle you?
No, I think overall everybody is very happy. I think, with a slew of different factors have improved in this home.
I mean, one of the lovely things I really noticed about walking through the whole house was that it's so even. The temperature feels so even. There's no pockets of hot air or cold spots, by the windows. Oh, the windows are losing the heat and they feel cold, and then you have
two-stage air conditioning heaters blowing hot air on you. No, it's just even and it's quiet. This house is completely comfortable, and it used to be completely uncomfortable. Ian, I want to thank you again so much for having us on this journey with you. It's been inspiring to watch you take on this incredibly difficult challenge with such grace, and you created that game plan. You attacked the issue in a holistic way, and you managed to do it all with the children in at home and your wife at home, all living here. So I want to congratulate you. I want to thank you for having us along on this journey. Thank you for being on the journey with us. It was, we could have done it without you. In the grand scheme, it was a short amount of time to have to sacrifice and endure for the greater outcome that gives us huge amount of time, peace of mind, and something we don't have to worry about. We just get to live in and enjoy, and have a healthy environment for our kids, and that was what the project was all about.
If you were walking down this street in this lovely suburban neighborhood, you'd see this recently renovated home and you'd say, wow, it just looks like any other home in this neighborhood. But what you wouldn't realize is the building science that's behind that lovely new cladding. But you know who does realize it? It's the homeowner and his family inside. They're feeling that comfort of this renovation and the healthier air every single moment of the day. There's a lot to learn here about how Ian approached this project. Passive house should always be the goal, but it's also not necessarily realistic for every single project. So let's use the passive house principles to inspire us on our renovations. Let's use these principles to say, okay, hey, we're doing an installation project. Let's use climate appropriate insulation. Or we're redoing our cladding. Let's take off all that old cladding and let's air seal. Or, hey, the only thing I can do right now is replace my windows. Well, let's use the best windows we can, like high performance European style windows that we make at White Windows. The point is that whatever changes you make today are gonna last a generation or more. So let's use these passive house principles to build a better future.